often we start people pleasing. It can be for safety or to be liked, right? That socially, people reward those who like bend over backwards for them, right? The friend that we call it going the extra mile, but then never requires that back, right? That gets reinforced. Or at work, the person who volunteers for all the extra tasks, like I'll stay late, I'll be on the fourth committee, I'll do and it's like no additional compensation. No, 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 I'll just do it, right? So then, they might make you employee of the month or say like you're the best friend ever or the greatest daughter ever. But we have to say like at what cost? So one is the cost of self-abandonment, self-neglect, self-erasure, where we're exhausted and dissatisfied. At some point, we can also get resentful. So like everyone else is pleased with this arrangement, but physically, emotionally, maybe even spiritually and financially, it's chipping away at us. And then I would say, along with it wearing down your own health and well-being, it also stops the possibility of genuine intimacy, right? Because if I will never reveal to you like my hurts or my fears or my needs, then I'm not presenting a self for you to relate to, right? I'm just being a provider of your needs, right? And trauma survivors often study situations and study people to figure out what is required of me, because they're thinking if I do the right thing, I'll be safe, right? But that's not relationship. It's performance.
I think of how much we all deeply crave that sense of intimacy, and perhaps because we are fundamentally one at that level where we are whole and our nature is to give and whatnot, and yet at times operating from these deeper ways in which we've coped it to feel safe. And a lot of times that's like okay with sacrificing your own needs and playing small so that it doesn't make other people feel small, And I feel like on this journey of returning to our wholeness, awakening to our true self, inherently there is relational things and events that need to change externally, and people will expect you to show up as you have it as a prior version of yourself.
Mhm.
And so how do you relate to that change of environment and atmosphere as you're doing your own growth and healing work?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And it's so true that when we do the internal work of healing, it's gonna have a ripple effect, right? If before I was kind of like a doormat or had no opinions, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're amazing," because you would just echo back what they want to hear, and then suddenly you come to an age or an experience where you want to like live in truth, and you start expressing those things. People may say like, "You changed," right? Or you start telling people no, and you used to say yes to everything. People will be angry, frustrated, confused. Why are you doing this? It's like, the grandparent who would always watch the kids and is now like, I would have spent some of my retirement time, doing my hobbies or traveling, right? To not assume that I'm going to always be here. And they'll say, oh my God, how selfish. Like, you're so terrible. So there is that adjustment period. And I would say, if it comes to us, and we recognize like the change, it can be helpful to communicate it, right? To say like with that example, oh, I know before I was like always home and you could just drop them anytime and, plan things without checking in. But I'm trying to do some more things now. Like I've been neglecting myself. So I'll need you to like ask me in advance to make sure I'll be free,
Hmm.
so we can, announce the transformation.
Yeah. A lot of us, though, associate setting boundaries with a sense of abandonment,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Do you see the path forward in that regard is just practicing that, or
Yeah.
how do you?
I would say at first practice it with people who are more open, right? Because we can all think of like the people in our lives who it's easier to say no to and who it's harder. And when you're first starting, because you're already battling with those feelings of guilt, don't start with the hardest one. Like you need some wins to discover, like if you have a good friend and you feel like if I say, you know, actually this weekend, I don't feel like going out. I know I said I would, but I'm exhausted. You have some friends who will be like, oh, get some rest. That's, we'll catch it next time. And then you're like, the world didn't fall apart. They didn't stop being my friend. Like they didn't attack me. And I set a boundary to take care of myself, right? Um, and so the practice helps. And then I would also encourage people to try not to over explain because the more I'm over explaining, one, I'm cueing to people that I'm not really settled in my answer. So then people will start trying to like talk you out of it. Of like, oh, you could do that later, or just come on, or. So when you said it, you want to stand by it, right? You want to enforce it. So that accountability to yourself.
What's the cost of not doing that?
The cost of a life without boundaries is you have said yes to everyone and no to yourself. So your peace is disrupted, your sleep is disrupted, your appetite may be disrupted, your health is worn down, you've given away all of your financial resources and to things that you couldn't afford is beyond generosity. And you have reinforced a cycle because, people who are asking are never going to stop, right? Now they get the cue of like, whatever I want, you're going to do. And so it is a vicious cycle that will not stop unless we stop it.
Beyond even people pleasing, what's the link between continued emotional suppression and physiological dysfunction?
Yeah, when we suppress our emotions, it can literally make us sick. We see suppressed anger and autoimmune disease, particularly among women. It can uh, exhaust our body's ability to fight against infection or disease because we are using so much of our energy, right, to suppress. The other thing that, it can disrupt our sleep, our digestive system. Sometimes the suppression can connect with our reproductive system. We also have what we call somatic complaints. So, soma is the body. And so, when you have body aches for which doctors can find no medical explanation, what does that look like? Is when we're feeling stressed, nauseous, migraines, backache. We have a lot of backache. A lot of people, right, are struggling with these backs. And you try to figure like, what is it we're carrying, right? Or what is it we're trying to contain, right, or suppress? So it definitely can affect our physical and our mental health. And I would like to say, you know, let people love you, right? I'm not letting people love me if I'm not letting people in, right? And I'm also denying that love and care to myself. You can tell, let's say someone's telling you a story and they're all worked up and you're like, oh, wow, that was really upsetting. And they're like, I'm not mad. It's like, I think you are. I think you are. So that is a lot of work to live in denial instead of being able to like express it. So, the emotion isn't the problem necessarily. It's what I do with it, right? So, for example, constructive anger versus destructive anger. So, a lot of people who work to make things better are upset about the way things are. And then they say, like, we're going to create a neighborhood watch program, or we're going to like go to city council and try to get some policy or something, or get funding for something. So positive change can come by the fact that you say, this is upsetting, or it's not fair, or I don't like it. The destructive anger is, I'm upset about it. So like, I'm going to harm myself. I'm going to harm other people. I'm going to like start doing that, what was done to me, to others. So you want to ask yourself, not only one, do I give myself permission to feel it? I'm a human being. I feel. And then, what are ways that I express it? What do I do with that feeling? Like when we talk about alchemizing it, I might take those emotions and put them into a poem. I might put it into the music. I may take those emotions and then, alchemize it into gratitude for the spaces and people that don't do those things, right? We can appreciate it more because we know what it's like when it's the other way.